Somewhere beyond the recesses of time and space, two podcasters are set adrift in a machine, picking up transmissions of movies that are forgotten but not gone.
Welcome to Movie Memory Machine, the only podcast about forgotten movies that remembers forgetting and forgets remembering.
Ooh.
I am your host, Landen Solano, joined always by my co-host, Truman Caps. Truman, it's good to see you.
Landon, it is climactic to be seen, and as I say that out loud, it almost sounds kind of dirty, but I don't mean it that way.
How do you mean it?
I mean it that we are here at the very end of our season, at the end of space and time, and there's nobody I would rather sit here and look back at everything we've done before with than you. There's no one who I would rather sit here and listen to me slowly lose command of the English language than you.
We are here at the end of our first season. This is a big milestone for us.
Everybody said we couldn't do it, including me, and we proved them all wrong.
Well, listen, we couldn't have done it without the help of all of our listeners like you.
Woo!
And which means I have to hit these 5 points one last time.
Hit those points
for you all to really help us bring a second season of Movie Memory Machine to your ear holes, your ear buttholes.
Wow, we're both stumbling full on into double entendres tonight.
Watch how I pivot back into serious mode, though.
Okay.
Listen, folks, are you sick and tired of ads? I fucking am. I am I've got ad fatigue like you wouldn't fucking believe.
Oh man, he's swearing so much. That's how fatigued he is.
Your support for this show and the other shows on the Gruntwork Podcast Network ensures that we are able to keep our episodes ad-free. So if you listen to an episode coming into this, or you're going to listen to an episode coming out of this, those shows are probably going to have ads on them. And this is your little window of ad-free sanctuary. But we can only do it with your help.
Yes, help us protect this beautiful national park with no ads roaming through it.
And you can do that in one of 5 ways. The first is to join us on Patreon at patreon.com/gruntworkpod. It is a pay-what-you-will system, but for as little as $1 a month, you can get access to all of the bonus content that the entire network provides. You can choose to support a single show, or you can choose to get everything that we do, all filtered to you through one feed, and that's for as little as $1 a month. That really goes a super long way to helping us keep this machine flying through the air.
Or flying through the vacuum.
The second way you can help us is to rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts specifically, even if you don't listen there. But wherever you listen, if they have a rating system, please rate us. And if you can leave a review, it does help elevate us in the algorithmic world that we live in to get other people to see the show. So that is a free way to help us, and it goes a long, long way to finding new listeners.
Yeah, huge help. Do it if you've got the time. We really appreciate it.
The third way is to subscribe to us and follow us on social media wherever we might be. You can just search for Movie Memory Pod or Movie Memory Machine. We should be on most networks. I don't know that we're super active there, but where we are active is our YouTube channel and on Letterboxd. So follow us there, share that profile, help people find the show through those social media channels.
We're doing our best to be one of the only good things on social media, and it's hard work, but we take it seriously.
The fourth thing, maybe the most important thing, is word of mouth.
Yes.
Tell someone about the show. Help them find it by sending them an episode. Whatever your favorite movie of the season was, send it to them. If you happen to be in movie discussion forums like Reddit, feel free to post the link to the episode that someone might be talking about. Maybe someone's talking about Poltergeist on one of the horror forums. Hey, there are a couple people who remember this movie, and why don't you take a listen to this? I'm not going to tell you how to write your posts. I do that for a living.
Yeah, exactly.
Write your own dang posts.
Yeah, come up with it yourself.
But however you can tell someone. It definitely is the most salient way of getting a new listener to our feeds. Lastly, as Truman said about having a nice place to have conversations that isn't toxic and is specific to what we're talking about here, you can join us on our Discord. It used to be only a Patreon exclusive. Now it is open to everyone. We hope that you'll come and join our community, our growing community of Movie Memory Machine fans, of Gruntwork fans, of just the Gruntwork Podcast Network shows.
Yeah.
Come there, discuss, and the more we grow, the more we're going to be able to do there.
Yeah, just get into this community on the ground floor. Be one of the original members. Landon and I are number 1 and number 2, but you can still get into one of those double-digit numerals, and that'll be pretty cool.
And we've never had the discussion as to who's number 1 and who's number 2, and I don't think it'll be healthy to do that.
And it won't be healthy, and it might stumble into yet another double-meaning situation that is unintentional. So let's keep going. Remember how I said we were going to be serious?
We're going to go into our Season 1 finale now, and we have got some things lined up to talk about Truman this season. Oh my goodness.
Wait, what? Yeah, okay, what were you doing there? Landon, who, lest we forget, has Italian heritage, was making kind of the gesture with his index finger and thumb, but then the accent was completely different.
I mean, are you the one to define what an Italian accent sounds like?
No, you know what? I'm not. Italian heritage can be whatever we want it to be. Okay, but let's get off of that old chestnut, a thing that we keep coming back to, and talk instead about the season that we just left behind.
When you think back on Season 1, what are the vibes? Describe the vibes.
Describe the vibes, which would be a great name for a podcast. Every week they describe a different type of vibe.
No, they just describe a different vibe from the movie Vibes.
Well, that movie is rich with vibes. That podcast could be on for quite a long time. I don't think that this season really has any one specific vibe because, I don't know, we've discussed this a lot off mics, but I feel like so many of our episodes are different. Like, every episode is sort of a different journey. Some episodes we're just goofing on a dumb movie like The Rock or Vampire in Brooklyn, but in some episodes like Tarzan, we're actually talking a lot about history and kind of learning shit about historical figures who were maybe crudely repurposed into action heroes.
One might use the word reappropriated.
Yeah.
Maybe.
One might. And sometimes we're talking in depth about the bloat of the film industry or learning about Dirk Pitt, or some weeks we're just being angry about Boys in a Boat. So I think that what we're learning is that forgotten movies contain multitudes, and those multitudes influence vibes in all kinds of different directions. Am I wrong? How did you feel about the vibe?
Part of why I was excited to do this show was both for me and to encourage others to watch movies they might not otherwise have watched.
Yeah.
Movies that you may have forgotten existed, you had intended to see and then just didn't get around to. Like, my personal motto in life is just push play, especially when it comes to watching movies.
Yeah.
And I really, to your point, I really like the variety of, like, we can go from a kind of saccharine teen romance to the most crass Wild West egotistical narcissist vanity project in 2 moves.
Yeah.
and still maintain some sort of, like, continuity to what we're talking about in a weird way.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, each is their own conversation, but, like, and I'm not ready to give up on the idea that there is some sort of DNA that makes a film forgotten. Mm-hmm. Whether that's business or whether that's content, I'm not sure yet, but there's something in there.
Yeah. I've been wondering about that, and I've been trying to think of a unifying factor, like what is it that all of these forgotten films have in common besides the fact that this ridiculous machine has served them to us.
Yeah, and they all have needle drops.
And they all have except Gretel and Hansel. No needle drops.
That's
there.
true. It's memorable.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
it is.
We decided to remember it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are the final authority. Nobody else has a podcast like this. We are the only experts. But, like, I was trying to, looking back at our episodes and trying to find what's this common thread, and I was working on some really up my own ass artsy idea about how, like, when the creative process doesn't begin with an idea, but it's driven by commerce. That's when the movie is forgotten. But then I'm like,
it might be up your own ass, but that doesn't mean it's not true.
Well, but this is the thing, because this whole idea of movies like Operation Fortune only happened because a bunch of crypto bros were in the same room at the same time and decided, oi gov,
during COVID,
let's make a movie. And and all these actors were like, we haven't worked in a year, sure, whatever, it's about AI, why not? And so there's movies out there like that, and there's movies like Tarzan that only exist because some guys wanted to make their dads proud, or Poltergeist that was just an IP remake. But like the deeper you go into it, like a movie like Hope Springs, no, that was like someone initially really had creative passion for that idea. Reminiscence, as much as we hate it, that's an original concept that was a Blacklist script. Like, so many of these films, Money Monster, Don Juan DeMarco, Loser, and Lightning Jack, like, it wasn't, a lot of these were not just simple cash grab movies. A lot of these were movies that at least one person really put their whole ass into, and it still meant nothing. So I don't know. I feel like I have more questions than answers after one season of doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. To me, that just is indicative of needing to make that Venn diagram, because the center of that Venn diagram is going to tell us the answer. In one bubble, we have Blacklist scripts. Ugh. In another bubble, we have biopics.
Yeah.
In another bubble, we have movies that have been tampered with. A la Loser and 54.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the midst of all of that is going to be the center point, and I just, that's my goal, is to figure out what that center point is.
There's another bubble that's remakes, Poseidon and Poltergeist, and there's another bubble that is like based on a book. But
it's funny, any of those things in a vacuum like don't make any sense. There are plenty of remakes that are incredibly memorable. The fucking Godfather is based on a book, so that isn't criteria in and of itself. But maybe if there is, with this Venn diagram, we see, a Blacklist script that's been based on an article, not a book. I'm just describing the butler at this point. But
yeah, you're subtweeting the butler.
Maybe there is some sort of connective tissue.
I guess as we look back, we've learned nothing. We've only fallen deeper into a black hole of ignorance, having watched all 25 of these films.
Pretty much.
I do hope that we are encouraging people to watch more movies, or watch movies that are forgotten, even though we have been pretty harsh on a lot of these movies and have said that they a lot of them weren't worth the time. I hope that we have at least driven home the importance of, even when a movie is kind of bad or kind of forgettable, there's nuggets of good stuff in there. There's memorable things in 80% of movies, probably. There's at least a few moments that are worthwhhile. So then let's talk a little bit about the specific films.
Yeah. Like, has your opinion changed on any of them? I don't want to preview a segment we're going to go into later, but like, what's stuck with you? Like, do you have any favorite moments? Do you have any like just warm and fuzzies, or what's the opposite of warm and fuzzies? Is it cold and Hardee's? Just like a big roast beef sandwich from Hardee's
that's been sitting in the front seat of your car for like 2 days.
Yeah.
I kind of prefer cold and slimies, but actually no, saying that out loud, I actually don't prefer it. There's a lot of stuff that has stuck with me. I mean, I have warm and fuzzies specifically from 54, the director's cut. Just thinking of that scene where he walks into Mike Rubel's office. Mike Myers playing Steve Rubel, so it's Steve Rubel's office.
Steve Rubel's office, yes.
He walks into Steve Rubel's office, he sees the cops, and the camera just zooms from the cops to their badges to the receptionist who's called them, and then he runs out the door and that Grace Jones song starts. And
beautiful.
I talked about that a lot in the episode, and I just want to, report now, all these months later, that moment still just lives rent-free in my head, and every few weeks, like just an idiot, I go to YouTube and I type in 54 director's cut, I Need a Man Grace Jones sequence, hoping that somebody has ripped the sequence from the director's cut of the widely forgotten, critically derided film and put it on YouTube, and no one's done that.
No one is.
No.
There's opportunity.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, that is definitely something that I still think should be taught as a editing lesson in film schools.
Yes.
Just to look at that sequence from the theatrical cut and then look at the economic storytelling you can do with editing. Like 3 shots, not even 3 seconds, and how much story you can get out of that. That is definitely a high point of this season. That one weird little sequence.
Yes. That is then a turning point for the movie that very much just says, okay, party's over, new shit is happening now.
Speaking of party, one thing that has... I was kind of on the fence, and I don't mean this as a pun. I was on the fence about in the Barnyard episode. Actually, I wasn't really on the fence. It was more... I was stating an opinion during the episode, and I realized I'm not sure that I hold true to that opinion, but I've since gone and done research, and I can say that I do hold true to the opinion, which is I fucking hate happy hardcore music, and I have no fucking tolerance for rednecks and Wild Mike and whatever partying the Barnyard animals are up to.
Okay, I will admit, I've also been thinking about Barnyard, and I've been thinking about Wild Mike, and but
Wild Mike Rebel?
Yeah, but Wild Mike Rebel would not limit anybody who comes into the party. He lets everybody in because he's all about just partying as hard as possible.
Yes.
Before I even get into the Wild Mike of it all, though, I do agree with you. Yep. Like, watching some clips from Barnyard, folks, if you haven't subjected yourself to Barnyard, keep not subjecting yourself to it. But if you want a taste, look up... This is what bugs me. I can't find the good scene from 54 Director's Cut on YouTube, but if you go into YouTube and you type Wild Mike Barnyard scene, oh, you get that. You get that whole thing. That video that video has been on YouTube for like 18 years.
Oh
like,
my god.
The Wild Mike clip on YouTube could join the Marines and buy cigarettes.
The timeline of that is like YouTube was created, Lonely Island puts out their single, and then the Barnyard Wild Mike sequence is uploaded. Like, those are the first 3 things that the video on the internet does.
Somebody turned on SNL and they saw Lazy Sunday and they saw it go up on YouTube at the same time. They thought, this is the perfect place to put up the video of the Wild Mike sequence from Barnyard.
Oh my god.
I went to all the work of ripping it in like 2005 when that was kind of a difficult thing to do, and I just have it on my 256 megabyte hard drive taking up all this space. What do I do with it? I need to preserve this. Okay. First, just if you watch that clip and going back and rewatching it myself, it really makes, like, I was sort of disturbed that we watched an entire movie of stuff like that. Like,
I agree with you, and that's why I was against it while we were discussing it.
Yeah, I think I kind of had Stockholm Syndrome from watching the movie. I mean, we recorded that. I watched Barnyard like 2 hours before we recorded the Barnyard episode, and I think I was still a little drunk off of the Jersey cow's milk when we made that one. So that alone is just sort of a disturbing thing. That's a cold Hardee's that I'm snacking on there. But more specifically, Wild Mike. This has just been troubling me. Wild Mike's kind of in my head. Can we just rap about this for a second?
We have to. Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Okay, so Wild Mike, lest we forget, they're at the party trying to cheer up Otis after his dad is killed by coyotes. We've got Wild Mike. Yes. Everyone's chanting, Wild Mike, Wild Mike. They roll out a locked crate on a dolly, and they open it, and Wild Mike, this little hairy creature with, like...
It's a hairball with arms and legs.
Yes, comes out, dances really hard to happy hardcore, dances so hard that everybody passes out, but then the music continues. Wild Mike jumps back up, everyone else jumps back up, he dances more, he goes back in the crate.
Yep.
Who among the animals decided that Wild Mike had to be locked up in a tiny box?
I think
I mean,
it's a great question, Truman. I think that Wild Mike, this undefined creature, is just like pure id. It has like altered states come forth from one of the animals, and for the safety of all of these still, of this earthly realm animals, they have to put Wild Mike away because the party does not end unless he is contained. And so they would dance themselves to death, just like that plague in medieval times.
Yeah, the dancing plague, yeah.
If they didn't put him, in his crate after a couple hours.
Okay,
like,
so
think of the dehydration.
Yeah. But they're cows. They've got more bevs right there. All of them have udders, even the dude cows. Okay. So what you're saying is that the animals decided that for the good of their society, they needed to deprive one of their own of his liberty.
I mean, I don't like that I'm saying that, but I think the film is suggesting that, yes.
So it's not that he's a criminal. Like, Wild Mike does the same stuff all the animals do. They all dance and party.
Correct. But they do it for fun. Party Mike is just like, he's a renewable energy source. Like, he doesn't turn off. You can't have 100% of the sun 100% of the time. You need nighttime to replenish,
Wow, this is just a really brilliant philosopher at work here on our podcast right now. We got to lock you in a crate so you don't drop too many truth bombs on everybody. Oh, okay. So it's like, all right, so fair enough. They've decided you do the thing we all do so much harder than the rest of us that we need to lock you away in a tiny Guantanamo Bay-ass crate. But then
maybe it's akin to when they roll Hannibal Lecter out in his straitjacket on that stretcher. Maybe it's just a transport device. Maybe he has a life of luxury in a party palace that, he can go bounce off of soft walls.
Yeah, no, I do love that. I love Clarice Sterling going to the Barnyard farm and like down into the basement where Wild Mike has his drawings of Florence and everything up on the walls. Quid pro quo, Wild Mike. Okay, but then they've decided that Wild Mike must be locked up for the safety of everyone to keep them from partying too hard. But then they release him periodically, not when Wild Mike wants to be released, but just they decide, okay, on a goof, we'll let you loose. Like, they've basically enslaved Wild Mike, and they only give him his freedom occasionally so that he can dance for their pleasure.
I think this falls into the philosophy of human beings aren't meant to be idle. And so with the life of luxury and laziness that all of the barnyard animals exist within, they need a challenge. They need a moment of stress. They need something that they can unify themselves around in order to give their lives purpose. So every night they look forward to unleashing Wild Mike, and we, the audience, don't get to see the coming together of all the barnyard animals, the pigs moving Wild Mike with their snouts, and the cows, kind of wrangling him from the other side, and the donkey, kicking the door shut once they got him in the crate. Like, they all have to work together to get Mike back in the crate. And that is a way that keeps society together and functioning.
Okay. I mean, I will point out that at the end of the Wild Mike sequence, Wild Mike himself throws himself back into his crate, which is then locked, which I think is even darker because it suggests he has been a prisoner for so long that he has lost the ability to conceptualize his own freedom.
like you watching the movie Barnyard.
True. I guess what I'm just saying is we should invade the Barnyard farm and liberate Wild Mike. I think that this experiment in self-determination for the animals on the farm, we gotta stop.
Truman, I've read too many Lovecraftian stories to know that liberating a undefined animal or creature of, indistinguishable energy and horrors is never good for anyone.
Okay, but you can at least agree that based on historical experience, going into a culture you don't understand and trying to build a new society there by force always works out. So, at least the plan is halfway built on good ideas.
I think the most important question we need to ask about Wild Mike, now that we're at the end of the season, is do you think he was wearing a wig?
No, you know what? I don't think he was wearing a wig, because specifically he's locked in there in that little crate. They're not letting it. They don't give him a razor or scissors or anything. He's got nothing to do but grow hair. That's the only activity he has left.
Isn't that the greatest trick of that toupees could pull? Is usually a toupee is just covering part of your hair and it's supposed to blend seamlessly into the rest. I mean, if there was a toupee that was made to look like, Gen X Kurt Cobain, split bangs, going down, framing your face so that you don't see any of your natural hair. Maybe the whole thing is a wig and it's a ruse de hair. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, that's it. That's okay, we can't talk about Barnyard anymore. In fact, we shouldn't talk
about
end of
the season.
Anything.
That's it, folks. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, we're good. Speaking of Operation Fortune, I was trying to explain what we do here to one of my friends.
Okay.
Which bad move. Never do that. But I was saying by way of an example, we watched the movie Operation Fortune Ruse de Guerre, and explained what that movie was, and then a minute later he tried to refer to it again, and he said, that movie you were talking about, Operation Fortune Soup du Jour. Can we start calling it that now?
Absolutely we can, until they make a sequel.
Yeah, so instead of them going to Hollywood, it's them opening a restaurant. They open a soup plantation, basically.
They are in Hollywood at the end of the movie, so it would make sense.
Landon, I have terrible news. They closed all the soup plantations in LA, so...
Well, good. That place was gross.
Whoa. I'm sorry, you are making enemies with at least one of our listeners,
I know.
Maybe more of them.
I know a lot of people who love that place, but I've always felt a little uncomfortable there. Also, I'm just... maybe a little bit of a germaphobe makes me not fully enjoy buffet-style dining.
Yeah, it's been a rough 5 years for buffet-style dining. I think we can all agree on that. What other warm fuzzy cold hardies have you got?
Well, just to touch on what you were talking about with Operation Fortune, my partner listened to the Poseidon episode, and I had been talking about the fact that we were going to do Poseidon, and I was so excited that Lauren and Joe were going to join us, and for a month I was just like, we're doing Poseidon. Lauren and Joe are going to be here, and she's like, oh cool, Poseidon, cool. It wasn't until halfway through listening to the episode, she was like, I've seen this movie. And to me, there was no better testimonial of what we do on this show.
Yeah, I mean, that you can get really deep into a unnecessarily detailed discussion about a movie and only then remember that you've already seen it. Did she like Poseidon after she saw it?
Well, that's... What I want to know now, and I didn't ask her, was at what point in our discussion, what made her remember she saw it? Was it Lucky Larry? Was it the Pillar of Fire?
Yeah.
What unlocked that memory for her?
What was it? Was it all of the people trapped in the flooding vent? Kind of the most harrowing and
maybe
phobia-inducing moment in that movie.
It's possible. I have some cold hardies I gotta bring up.
So you ate the hardies and now it's giving you some digestive trouble, so it's coming back.
Something like that, yes.
Yeah.
I want to address my defense of two people this season. And
the Menendez brothers. Turns out they actually did it.
It wasn't necessarily a defense of them, I don't think, but I just want to be very clear about two things.
Okay.
First, Marlon Brando.
Mm-hmm.
I was not very articulate in my thoughts on Marlon Brando in general, not necessarily just in Don Juan DeMarco. You went to task, rightly so, about the unprofessionalism of him.
Yes.
And yes, there is a lot of unprofessionalism in his career, maybe life as well, but I'm not here to talk about his life. My thing with that movie was that there is a sort of sense of not taking his own profession too seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Does not negate your point that, like, you got to take it seriously enough that the other people you're working with aren't debilitated by that.
Yeah.
The other thing being that film in particular, his approach to it, whether professional or not, contributed to the whimsy that I felt from the film. And so I was more trying to emphasize the whimsy more than forgiving the unprofessionalism.
Yeah. Or forgiving, like, other bad stuff that Marlon Brando did in his life.
Well, and that didn't necessarily factor into the conversation. I mean, we can acknowledge it. It was shitty and, I mean, horrible, deplorable, whatever you want to attribute to it. But it didn't really fit into that conversation. Yes,
sure. Yeah.
He was complicit in some pretty awful stuff to Romy Schneider.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take that. We'll put it on the permanent record that you have you've clarified your position on Marlon Brando. I accept that. Who's the other figure who you have to set the record straight on?
This is just to open more conversation than to set a record straight necessarily.
Okay.
And it's Tommy Lee Jones.
Mm-hmm. You think his poetry was actually good?
I think he is underrated as a poet. Having spaced since the Hope Springs episode, I want to be very, in my own commentary, behavior, opinions, like, being an asshole is different than, like, doing crimes, right?
Sure.
You could be an asshole and be good at your job.
Yeah.
Kind of, I get kind of defensive when I personally haven't seen the evidence that is hurled against someone for whatever reason. I take behind-the-scenes stories with a grain of rice, grain of sand,
a grain of salt,
a grain of Hardee's.
Yeah, a grain of salt that fell off of your Hardee's French fries a week ago. Yes.
That said, I have since seen Jim Carrey's story of meeting Tommy Lee Jones in a restaurant. When they're getting ready to do Batman Forever,
mm-hmm.
and Tommy Lee Jones basically saying, I hate your guts, and I don't want to be doing this with you. Yeah, he's an asshole. He's definitely an asshole. But how much does that affect our conversations about people, and, like, should we dismiss them or not dismiss them from a conversation? I don't know. I'm still like, yeah, being an asshole isn't fun, and you shouldn't be that. You shouldn't be an asshole. But do we dismiss their contributions to things just because they're an asshole?
I don't think we should dismiss a person's contributions based simply on them being historically quite rude and impolite. Like, if they're not out there committing crimes, I don't think that just being a dick is necessarily cancelable behavior. Look, on the matter of Tommy Lee Jones, this has irked me when I've listened to the Hope Springs episode, and in our debate about him, I had mentioned that somebody asked him at a press junket event for Men in Black if he believed in aliens, and his response was to get up and walk out of the press junket. And I believe that your statement was kind of like, well, you're talking to Tommy Lee Jones, you know what you're gonna get. You should, that's the sort of thing. And the counterpoint I should have made but I didn't make is Tommy Lee Jones signed a contract to be in a movie about aliens. He got paid a bunch of money to be in a movie about aliens. It's fully reasonable at that point to expect that you're going to be asked if you believe in aliens whilst promoting that film. If you are so offended... Sure. If like the thought of being asked if you believe in aliens is so offensive and demoralizing to you, don't take the money. Let them cast someone else as Agent K in Men in Black.
That is a very fair point, but it also illustrates the kind of the weird nature that I have with these sorts of things, which is I don't know the context for that. That was probably the 17th time that day he was asked if he believed in aliens. Now, this is where I feel like I'm starting to defend him, and I don't want to necessarily. I'm just kind of trying to point out that I don't know all of the circumstances surrounding that. You get a surly person in a junket scenario, which is exhausting, and then you ask them the same ridiculous question. And by ridiculous, I mean to them. Like,
Sure.
Yes, you're right. He signed up for an alien movie. He should answer the alien question.
Sure.
But the dominant, like, it shouldn't be surprising. I'm not saying it's forgivable, but I'm saying it shouldn't be surprising.
Yeah. I mean, I think basically what I'm saying. Yeah, maybe it's not surprising. I guess I'm just saying I reserve the right to dunk on him for that. I fully,
Okay, all right.
I fully agree. Being on a press tour for a movie seems incredibly exhausting. Being in a press junket seems very difficult and like it wears you down. But also, some people join the military and go to other countries and get shot at, and they get paid like $40,000 a year for that.
Yeah.
And I just think Tommy Lee Jones, get over yourself a little bit. You know what? Come and fight me. Oh, are we shaking hands?
We're shaking hands. This is, we can agree, this is dunkable behavior.
Okay, dunkable behavior. Hey, you know what? Cold Hardies are bad, but that thing of Dunkaroos that's been in your car since like 1995, those never go bad. It is all sugar and microplastics. I have some loose ends with Paul Hogan. Speaking of setting the record straight.
Let's go there. All right.
That's not a loose end. This is a loose end. I happened to find an excerpt from an episode of How Did This Get Made about Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles, the third Croc Dundee movie, which came out in the early 2000s.
We're referencing other podcasts, other movie podcasts on our movie podcast, but that's okay.
Oh, as though we haven't before. As though we haven't. But they interviewed one of the people who wrote Crocodile Dundee 3 in Los Angeles, and just...
Okay.
At the time that the movie was kind of getting made, like, he was taking pitches from a lot of different writers, and these two writers went to him with this idea of just like, hey, you and your wife go to LA, and I don't know, I don't need to describe the concept of Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. I basically just did. These guys write the whole script, but then when they are going into production with the movie and everything, and like the promotional materials are coming out, they see that Paul Hogan has taken their names off the script, and he's just crediting himself as the sole writer on it. And he has then gone in, it turns out, he's gone into every draft of the script and rewritten everything they've written to be basically the same, but just a little bit different and worse and less funny. And he was basically trying to claim that he was the sole writer on that movie so that he could get all the residuals from it, and these guys had to take him to multiple different levels of Writers Guild of America arbitration to finally get him to just give them their due for the movie. This is Paul Hogan, who is insanely wealthy. I'm just saying, that's an interesting piece of Hogan context.
I don't know what's worse about that. The fact that Paul Hogan wanted to take credit for Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles, which is just desperate and pathetic, that the writers probably didn't want their name on it anyway, or the fact that, and well, I guess it's just a side note, the fact that anyone thought there'd be residuals from it,
yeah,
or the fact that through this, they made themselves, or Paul Hogan essentially made these writers fight to get their name on a movie they probably didn't want credit for.
Well, that is what they talk about in the episode. They're saying, like, we were not proud of this movie. We didn't want to be associated with it, but to get, like, there was a bunch of money on the table they wouldn't get unless their names were on it.
Fuck
I mean,
that.
It does seem like the ultimate power move, I guess, if you're already incredibly wealthy Paul Hogan, to just be like, you know what? No, fight for this. Fight for this. Prove you really want it.
Oh my God.
But I think just his instinct and like him going in and insisting on rewriting every scene and taking full control over the script that someone else wrote, that corroborates a lot of our theories from Lightning Jack about how Paul Hogan just approaches every scene in every movie with, how do I make myself look cool?
Yeah. Well, let's put Lightning Jack and Paul Hogan in our past.
Yeah. I would like to see Paul Hogan and Tommy Lee Jones fight, because I think Tommy Lee Jones would win, and that would be fun.
I've seen The Hunted. Yeah, I would love to see him fight him. Throw them into the wilderness and see what they can do with survival skills.
You know, is it man versus wild, or is it man versus man while the wild just watches?
So I have one Poltergeist thing that it's like your Wild Mike thing, but I don't have a like set up framework for it. It's more just like it irked me in the movie, and since then it's irked me all the more. Just having to sit with the lack of cohesion of what the fuck the Paranormal Activity is in that movie.
Well, I mean, the title gives you a clue.
But it doesn't. I mean, it would be one thing if it was like sticking to the supernatural stuff that is set up in the first movie.
Yeah.
It's mostly the fucking tree stuff.
Yeah.
It's like grabbing the kid and dangling him by his foot on the front lawn goes so far beyond the poltergeist activity. The twig pushed into the ground and being pushed back up.
Yeah.
Like there's just it has bothered me in a way that has like taken my intelligence for granted. Like you're not gonna you don't care how this actually works. You just want to see some spooky shit. Isn't it spooky to see a little tiny cute girl push a stick into the ground and then the stick comes back up? Whoa! Put your hand into these wet hot dogs.
It does have the feel of an 8th grader completely half-assing their homework and just being like, yeah, here's my book report. It's quintuple spaced in 20-point font. You buying this? You gonna take it? Don't ask questions. Yeah, right? This is good enough, isn't this?
The comic book, we didn't talk about I'm shocked that we didn't talk about this in the episode, but there's the kind of central point of this is when mom and dad are at the dinner, they leave the kids home alone when all of this activity comes to fruition, right? And this is where so much shit that is so disconnected is happening at once. Yeah. And I can't believe why we didn't break this down, but like the older sister goes down into the garage or laundry room. Yeah. And like the black oil tar starts coming up from the ground. Meanwhile, the tree is taunting, or it's the clown that's taunting the kid. Yeah. While the tree is outside. And he starts running all over the house to find Maddie, who's going towards the TV. And when he gets back to his room, suddenly he's blocked in the hallway by a bunch of, comic books stacked in a certain pattern, blocking the doorway. It's like, it's so breakneck, and so many things are happening at once that it just, I don't know. The whole nonsense of it has really just planted a seed and festered there for the whole season.
It is like the fact that the movie kind of just plods along with a couple of very lo-fi, not even lo-fi gives it too much credit, just kind of like small potatoes scares and like a fake out with a squirrel. And then the parents leave, and in the course of like 5 minutes, the movie blends up like 6 set pieces from the original into a thin paste and kind of just sprinkles them all over the house. Yeah, they're kind of like overwhelming your senses with a bunch of mediocre bits that don't make any sense. Like there's not like a cohesive haunting going on, or like whoever, like whatever spectral entity is haunting the house, none of it seems to like factor into a solid theme. I would love it if like we moved into the Poltergeist house like as buds, as roommates or whatever. We moved in there and we're being haunted, and the whole time we're just like complaining at the hauntings and being like, I'm sorry, wait, how does this creepy clown doll match up thematically with the oil pit in the garage? Ghosts? Excuse me, can we talk to your manager? This makes no sense. I'm not scared, I'm confused.
Yes, exactly. You know what? There's a story in that, and copyright 2025, Truman and Landen.
No one wants to see the horror movie where two people who have seen horror movies talk about horror movie tropes. The most overdone nonsense. Been there, seen that.
This is why I said I was on the outside of the horror community. The difference is so few people inside the horror community are criticizing and commenting upon it. They're embracing it and perpetuating the tropes.
Is the real reason you live outside of the horror community because that's the one place you can get a house that actually isn't haunted? All the houses in the horror community are haunted, but if you live out in the suburbs, they're just totally normal houses.
So. I'm just jealous.
You hate them because you ain't them.
Anyway, otherwise, beyond that, I haven't thought. I can't even recall many details from the movie Poltergeist.
Yeah, no, it's another one that I keep. I have more memories of our discussion of Poltergeist than I do of the actual movie we were discussing. Yes. And that's amazing that I can remember specific things from a discussion with you, because we have had so many long discussions about movies over the course of our lives that they all run together. You want to talk about blending things up into a thin paste. Before we wrap this one out, I want to come back to one theory that I've talked about a lot this season and kind of shed some new context.
Number four.
No, we're done with that. That was never a thing. Also, since our box office numbers were so goofed up for a lot of the season, I don't even know if our theory about movies debuting at number 4 being forgettable even holds.
Excuse me. The box office numbers weren't incorrect. It was the number of weeks the other films in the box office were in theaters.
Okay. We trust us. We only misread one piece of the data, not the other piece of the data.
Not the one I'm being accused of. If I'm being accused, I will admit guilt, but I want to make sure it's accurate.
Okay. Well, look, we're not even talking about that. I've talked a lot about the Orson Fortune school of action movie protagonists.
Yeah.
The hero who is successful only because all of the bad guys let him win, or her win. There's some girl bosses out there. And I've called back to that a lot. I've seen that present in a lot of movies where just, the bad guy never really puts up a fight. What I've come to realize is that's less of an Orson Fortune thing and more of just a forgettable movie thing. I think there's just a lot of, because a lot of the movies that get forgotten are movies that aren't necessarily super bad. They're just really half-assed. And
yeah.
Speaking as a writer who's half-assed some scripts in his time, one of the best ways to kind of just, get the job done good enough to send it off is to just have the bad guys make some inexplicable decisions that leave an open door for your good guy to walk through and win. So I don't know. I think it's just so I don't think that Operation Fortune Soup du Jour invented that concept. I think it's just that in Operation Fortune, Orson Fortune is just such a unlikable dipshit with no charisma to kind of gloss over the fact that he's just traipsing to victory throughout. It's just it's very obvious there.
Sometimes it's not the first to the finish line to define history. It's the one that epitomizes it. And I think Operation Fortune epitomizes exactly that. I've thought about that trope a lot this season because I hadn't really even considered it before that. You brought that to my realization in that, and I've seen it in so many films that came out before Operation Fortune and after that I can't unsee it now.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. It comes down to forgettable films often, almost always, come down to the script. I don't mean to the script writer. I just mean to what transpires thematically, narratively, characterizations throughout a movie, whether it was a bad script to begin with, a butchered script before production, or the narrative being hacked up in post-production.
Yeah.
It comes down to that. But Operation Fortune, that particular, we need a name for it so that I can reference it more often, but
well, and I think that it really it comes through so much more in Operation Fortune because that movie didn't even really have a script to be weak. I mean, based on the production materials we were looking at and the featurettes, it's like they kind of just showed up every day and kind of made up what was going to happen in that scene. And so I feel like it's almost like that's the natural state of a story that has not been workshopped and edited and revised along the way, is just for the villains to, because the person writing the story aligns with the good guy and wants the good guy to win. So they I think you just automatically, it's and the bad guy's stupid, so the guy I want to win can win. And I think that this is just a pure example, unfettered by any sort of editing or actual professional script writing process.
Yeah. I'm going to earmark that and come back to in a future segment. But let's move along here. We talk about stats in every episode, box office, etc.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? We've done 25 films this season, not counting Red Belt and Damsel.
Yeah.
That we can start to see some statistics about the films we've covered.
Yeah. And and hopefully we can see the statistics clearly and accurately this time.
Hopefully.
Okay, what do you got?
I hope that's true.
Are you analyzing groans per second or eye rolls per film?
No, I'm not. We've got a number of stats at our hands here, and I'm just kind of curious what you're interested in knowing. So, like, I can give you. Let's do this real quick just to get us started. I've got a bunch of Letterboxd stats, but I also pulled together just some of our box office stats. Let's do a quick guessing game. What do you think the highest budgeted movie we covered is?
Gotta be Sahara, right? Wait, Poseidon.
Okay, and that's not correct.
Was it Sahara?
No.
What?
That is number 2 and number 3.
Zan.
Poseidon is number 2. What's it?
It's the Zan, Tarzan.
It's the Zan. It is.
Yeah.
Legend of Tarzan comes in at number 1 with a $180 million budget. Poseidon right behind it with 160, and Sahara coming in at number 3 with 145. And those are the only 3 films over $100 million budgets.
I wish that we had access to the same treasure trove of budget information about Poseidon and Tarzan that we did with Sahara, because I feel like there's even, I don't know, maybe there's not bigger stories there. I guess so much of Sahara's budget was wasted because of Clive Cussler. Maybe the production of Poseidon and Tarzan was a lot more straightforward.
So now we've talked about budgets. Let's talk about worldwide gross. What do you think the top 3 movies that made money? What do you think they are, and what do you think they made?
I mean, look, box office juggernaut Hope Springs has got to be in there. Hope Springs made bank on a very small budget, right? That's one of the top 3.
That's true.
Yeah?
That's number 6.
It's number 6. Wow.
It's number 6 actually. So there are 5 films that made more money than Hope Springs this week or this season.
I mean, man, did Barnyard do numbers?
Barnyard comes in right after Hope Springs
Okay.
with 124 million. Hope Springs again brought in 133.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at our other stuff. I mean, The Last Song. That was a big success.
Last Song is like right in the middle of the pack with $92.7 million.
Okay, then what are the top grossers? I'm just not seeing, like, outside of those ones. Oh wait, The Butler.
The Butler is number 3 with $176.9 million.
Wait, then I don't know. Then what are the other ones? I could guess all day, but I'm just genuinely interested to know. Sooner or later, I'll list all of the movies we did, and that's not good radio.
Yeah, Poseidon comes in at number 2
Really?
with $181.6 million.
Okay.
Now, remember, though, that the budget was only $160, so, that's not turning a profit
Yeah,
when you factor in marketing materials.
Yeah, it's turning in a little bit of profit that gets swallowed up by everything else, much like the Poseidon gets swallowed up by the ocean.
And then number 1 is The Legend of Tarzan, which brings in a total gross of $348.8 million.
God, really? I mean, that's an insane amount of money for Tarzan to make, for that movie to make. And again,
yes.
That's probably no profit with a modern marketing campaign.
Well, Truman,
Yeah.
I have more numbers for you.
Oh, well, give me more numbers.
Would you like to know what our most profitable movies are?
Yeah, actually, that's the thing I was really... Yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to think about and trying to compute when I first started answering the question. So yeah, tell me what the most... Hope Springs is our most profitable movie, right?
No, it comes in at number 4, though.
Okay.
Hope Springs makes a $103 million profit.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Not including marketing materials.
It's insane. That is just insane that made over $100 million. Otherwise, is Gretel and Hansel one of the most profitable ones?
No, actually, it isn't, because Gretel and Hansel was so modestly budgeted. It made such a modest profit, but a respectable one. But not we're not bringing Hope Springs numbers from Gretel and Hansel.
No one could expect it to do that. Gretel and Hansel are not as strong of a duo as Kay and what's his face.
No, but the answers to these might surprise you a little bit.
Yeah.
Factoring in the Legend of Tarzan, I'm just gonna spoil this one right out the gate. Legend of Tarzan, biggest budget, biggest gross, and thus it makes the biggest profit. Just unfortunately, more evidence that Hollywood learns the more money you throw at something, the more money you get back.
But even then, biggest budget, biggest profit, one of the smallest splashes, truly.
Yeah.
Truly.
Absolutely. The second biggest profit margin is Lee Daniels' The Butler.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. Because that was just in theaters for months and months also.
Yes, that is correct, yeah. So that only had a $30 million budget and grossed, a lot.
Yeah.
176 million, so it made a profit of $146.9 million.
Okay. And then the third.
You're going to be happy, you're going to be excited.
Yeah.
Oh, look at your face.
Yeah?
It's The Mexican.
Hey, The Mexican. Well done, The Mexican. It's just the magic juice of Brad Pitt and Julia Roberts.
Yes.
It's
100%.
Wow. What was its profit that it made?
The profit on that is let's see, with a $40 million budget, it brings in $145 million for a $105 million profit.
I love that movie made over $100 million by just straight up lying to people that Brad Pitt and Julia Roberts were going to be a cute couple in every scene, whereas the entire movie is about them being, very separate from one another.
Yeah. And I thought just for some catharsis, we can look at the two least profitable movies.
Oh,
Reminiscence comes in last. One of the few films that, well, not few. We actually have quite a few films that lose money this season, starting with
naturally.
American Dreams, which almost breaks even.
Yeah.
But going all the way down to Reminiscence, which loses $52.2 million.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Just so much wealth obliterated by Reminiscence.
Yes. And then right behind it, but for Reminiscence and Operation Fortune, which is also on the negative list, you could still kind of chalk those up to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
This just is a testament to the clusterfuck that was Sahara.
Yeah.
Sahara comes in at number 2.
Okay. I mean,
it lost $24.1 million, not including marketing materials.
Yeah, Reminiscence you can sort of pass off on a, act of God, Black Swan event pandemic.
Right.
But, there's no Black Swan event greater than Clive Cussler deciding that he's not satisfied with the script for your movie about Dirk Pitt. I still also want to see the amount of behind-the-scenes data that we had about Sahara on Reminiscence. I want to know...
Yes.
What was it like? What were the emails like when people were looking at cuts of the movie and being like, this is pretentious garbage that makes no sense. How are we going to make money off this movie? I wanted to go on that journey.
And we tried to real hard, and it just didn't work out for us.
Yeah, it just didn't work out. Like an angel trying to climb into the heavens, but disintegrating into a fine paste and falling to earth like rain that is actually the tears of the most beautiful woman in the world who can't sing at the nightclub anymore. I'm sorry.
Smelling salts.
Oh, God. How long have I been in this butt juice?
Oh, my God. So that's some box office stuff, but I have some more Letterboxd stats that I want to go through.
Yeah, let's go to the Letterboxd office.
I have here a most forgotten year.
Oh, okay.
But before we get there, I want to lead up to it. So, just as an overview, this season we have covered 5 films from the 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
We covered 10 films from the 2000s.
Yeah.
We have covered 6 films from the 2010s, and we have covered 4 films from the 2020s.
I mean, is it a little bit of recency bias, though, or the opposite of recency bias, that, like, the most forgettable movies are the ones from about 20 years ago?
Well, I think, we have to chalk that up to machine bias. It could have chosen 25 films from the 1990s, and it didn't, so...
Okay, but basically what this is telling us is that the early 2000s were the most, like, that's where we got the bulk of our forgotten films from.
That's correct. And I have a number here for the most forgotten year this season. And I think this is going to be interesting to track season to season of, like, we can do aggregate numbers. So adding season 1 and season 2 together, does this still hold water? But at least for season 1, do you want to guess what our most forgotten year is?
Gotta be 2002, right?
If you would have asked me without the numbers in front of me, I also would have said 2002.
We talked
because it's that post 9/11 era, and movies are trying to figure out what they are again.
Yeah. Then what is the year?
The year was 2006.
Oh, you're right. We did spend a lot of time there. Yeah. So that's obviously American Dreams.
American Dreams.
Second movie, Poseidon. And then the third movie, Landon and I are both now holding up a single finger, and it's our middle finger. We're the baddest boys on the playground.
And that should give you your clue as to the last film.
The original party
the
animals.
Boys.
Those rowdy cows. Wow. So, Life or Something Like It was 2002. There was another 2002
Correct.
movie, wasn't there?
A lot of them that were 2003 I had thought were 2002. Like, I thought The Recruit was 2002, but it was like January of 2020, 2003. Oh my God, what the fuck? My brain just died.
So there's... I think we've talked about movies having 2002 energy a lot, even if a lot of those movies came out in 2003. Okay, so...
Yeah.
2006.
And some of them came out in 2001 that I also thought were 2002. Like Simone, 2001.
Yeah, fair. Wow, Simone is a very 2002 type film. Okay. I mean, I think that there is some magic juice to the early 2000s as a decade of forgettable films, and not just because it's 20 years ago and it's easy to forget things that happened 2 decades ago, but I feel like also the look and vibe of that time period, it's like it's similar enough to our era. It's like that it doesn't stand out. Like, people in the early 2000s were like using cell phones and the internet and things like that, and it just with, you know, they had frosted tips and flared jeans, but otherwise their lives looked similar to ours. And it's like...
Right. There's a laptop in every movie from 2002.
Yes. And admittedly in Simone, the fact that his daughter uses a laptop is like her whole character, so that is sort of an artifact that, like, being a computer kid was its own thing. I don't know, I just, like, you watch a movie from the 90s and it's like, oh, this is a snapshot of a different era, and that sticks out a little bit in, like, it just makes more of an impression. But the early 2000s are just kind of like, it's a little bit different, but the same enough that it just doesn't really stick. Is any of this making sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's 100% that, and 100% what we talked about in the Recruit episode of the reassessment period hasn't quite washed over that era of film yet.
Yeah.
You know, we're just getting done with the late 90s and trying to redefine classics and cult classics from that era that we might have looked over at that time. And so we just haven't gone through the bulk of films from this period of time, which I feel like a lot of people are, like, not really eager to remember anyway.
No, personally, I'd like to forget it as much as I can. You know, and look, maybe one other factor in that is that digital, like, film technology became a thing in the early 2000s, and so there was a real glut of really cheap, shitty-looking movies on, like, the worst possible digital quality that was just like, great, this costs so much less than shooting on film. So there's also just a lot of those movies that just kind of look like bad infomercials.
And we haven't got to those yet, but I can think of a few off the tip of my brain that that I'm sure the machine will send to us at some point.
I can't wait. I mean, as much as I said that I didn't want to remember that time period, it is kind of fun to zoom around the depths of those years and just kind of like assess the cultural wreckage of the time period I was growing up in.
Yeah.
Assessing the warped and broken culture that produced me, a warped and broken man.
All right, let's zoom through just some other quick Letterboxd stats here. We mostly covered comedies this season with 15. Now that could be, you know, a dual genre movie like Life or Something Like It, say, which I think would also be classified as a drama according to Letterboxd.
Yeah.
Or
Loser, which is both a comedy and a crime against humanity.
Crime against humanity isn't a genre on Letterboxd.
Interesting.
Unfairly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one we did the least of is science fiction.
Oh.
Well, I guess technically Western, because we only did one Western.
Yeah. Did we even do one Western? I feel like we did like 0.7 of a Western.
Yeah. But that's 0.7 more than we did of war films. So there's that.
Okay.
But we did 2 sci-fi films. Out of the list they gave me, we've only done 2 sci-fi films, and that's the bottom of the list.
And those are Reminiscence and Operation Fortune, because it's about the Handle, the revolutionary AI that can hack anything.
It's a damn good guess. No, it's actually Simone.
Oh, yeah, I guess a computer lady is by her very nature science fiction. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, it's
less Robert Heinlein science fiction than it is, I know, Asimov or something.
I'm surprised we didn't do more sci-fi movies. I mean, the machine that we're trapped in is in itself a sci-fi premise. Maybe it's self-conscious about not wanting to like be too self-referential.
It's possible, yeah. Who knows? Maybe there are clues in the sci-fi films that could lead us to understand the machine better.
Also, there are so many shitty, forgettable sci-fi movies. It's a very rich vein. I hope that in season 2 we hit more of them.
Well, okay, how about we move on to nano-genres and themes?
Okay, yeah, they're really, really tiny, and we need to look at them through a microscope or something?
We have done... it's a 3-way tie. And again, these are Letterboxd themes, so I didn't set these. 6 films regarding relationship comedies.
Okay.
6 films regarding gags, jokes, and slapstick humor.
I don't love these nano genres, I'm just going to tell you. It just seems more like they found keywords related to each movie.
Are you ready for this one, then?
Yeah.
We've done 6 films that are laugh-out-loud relationship entanglements.
I mean, is Barnyard a laugh out loud relationship entanglement? Getting mixed up with a pregnant refugee cow?
No, I can tell you what they are though.
Yeah.
Life or Something Like It.
Okay.
Hope Springs. Don Juan DeMarco.
Didn't laugh out loud.
Loser. 6 Days, 7 Nights, and The Mexican.
Okay. I feel like of those, the only like really laugh out loudy relationship entangly ones are 6 Days, 7 Nights and Life or Something Like It.
Yeah. I would throw The Rocker in there. I mean, that is kind of, I don't know. I mean, I guess the relationship isn't at the center of that, but they do spin everyone off into relationships by the end of it.
I mean, yeah, and if you take a more expansive view of the word relationships, he gets entangled in a bunch of mentory type relationships with a bunch of kids who should definitely not be getting mentored by fish.
Yes. I'm not going to go through all of these themes and nano genres, but one just caught my eye. Epic heroes. I mean, Tarzan clearly is going to be in there. What do you? There's 3 of these films. What do you think else is going to be under epic heroes?
Epic heroes. Lightning Jack, obviously a very epic hero.
In his own mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Dirk Pitt, an epic hero, certainly in Clive Cussler's mind.
That one's on there. What's the third one?
What's the third epic
It's not what you're going to think it is.
Oh, no. Is it the boyfriend in American Dreams who's an epic hero because he dies in an epic way?
No, I think you got to think more in terms of like heroicism. This is maybe in aggregate all of the heroes aboard the Poseidon.
Oh, I see. So, okay. I mean, I guess there are epic acts of heroism in that movie, but there's also epic acts of kicking an innocent man down an elevator shaft so he gets impaled.
Speaking of heroes and villains, they are played by actors. In Truman, I've got a list here of actors and crew people that have appeared in the most amount of films this season, and I thought it might be kind of fun to go through them all.
Yeah.
Now, if I asked you, without telling you, how many actors we covered more than one film of this season, who comes to mind?
Who comes to mind? Well, I mean, I guess the Clune Dog doesn't count, even though he was on different sides of the camera for 2 movies.
Yes.
Let's see. Well, Cuba Gooding Jr. showed up twice. Bing. Wow, I feel like I was thinking about this much more recently. Oh, Hugh Grant showed up twice.
Hugh Grant is there. Bing again.
Man, and
Truman, you don't seem to be able to trust your memory. Is your memory called No One? Because you can trust no one.
Oh, Al Pacino. Of course.
Let me. It's trust nobody. I just fucked that up, everybody. Oh my god.
Landon, I'm ripping up this newspaper in front of you because you don't know shit. I forgot that he was in 2 movies because he was really only in 1 movie. That was a very different Al Pacino in Simone, being all tired and sad.
And yet, back-to-back movies for him.
Yeah, weird, man.
And speaking of back-to-back, we covered 2 films in a row of this other actor. Our patron saint of the season, I think.
Oh, man, why am I not remembering who this was? Back-to-back actor, 2 different episodes, and it wasn't Cuba Gooding Jr.
2 very different movies.
One
you deplore.
Greg Kinnear. Greg Kinnear, of course. How could I forget my boy? Yeah. You want to talk about range. Yeah, he goes from being the good Christian dad to the least Christian person imaginable.
And do you spell range Rainge?
Oh, that just made my mind go. Rainn Wilson showing up twice. I wonder if he got paid more for The Rocker than he did for all of the work that he put into Sahara. Probably he did, right?
I hope so.
Yeah.
We have another major superstar that we did 2 films of.
I don't know who that is. Who's that major superstar?
Julia Roberts.
Oh, of course, because she's also in The Mexican in addition to Money Monster. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's okay. It is bad that I'm not able to remember all these things, but then again, I guess our whole deal is that the movies that we talk about are difficult to hold in your mind.
We have one gentleman from our least favorite film and one from an okay film that you're more perplexed by their involvement collectively.
I'm trying to think. Like, there's a lot of movies that could be considered our least favorite film. There's like so many contenders for that dubious honor.
I would say our least favorite film, because my least favorite film is Boat Boys, and I'm sure you don't hate that film as much as I do.
I don't hate Boat Boys as much as you do. Is it? So then it's from Reminiscence. It's someone who is in Reminiscence.
And 6 Days, 7 Nights, it's Cliff Curtis.
Cliff Curtis, he was one of the pirates in 6 Days, 7 Nights, right?
And he played Cypher. Yeah. Or Cyrus.
Cyrus
Booth.
Yes.
Cyrus Booth.
Did we talk about the fact that it's insane to have a baby in your arms and say, I'm going to name you Cyrus Booth because I want you to be the bad guy?
Talk about setting a career path for someone right out the gate. Now, we've got 3 more people who appeared in 2 films.
Okay.
But they are in much more supporting roles.
Okay.
And I want to point out one in particular because he has a key role in one film and a very, very supporting role in another. The one where you wouldn't even pick him out of a lineup is The Legend of Tarzan, but he plays the knight who sets Gretel and Hansel on their way. He's the one person who shows them kindness right after the zombie attack. It's Charles Babalola.
All right. And I take it that he's one of the members of Tarzan's old tribe in Legend of Tarzan?
I don't know.
What one of those Congolese folks who was so happy to have Tarzan come in and rescue them from colonialism?
Maybe he's a soldier. Maybe he's the one with his legs dangling from the train car.
I think I'd remember if there was one black guy among all of those Belgian dudes who Tarzan throws around.
The other two character actors we got here is one is named Sam Douglas. He appears in both Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre, and The Boys in the Boat.
Oh man, does he get punched in the face through a map in Boys in the Boat as well?
I don't know. He is not one of the goons in Operation Fortune. These are just like, this pulls all of the data. So these could be like walk-on roles for people. But you know what? We're all about putting a magnifying glass on every aspect of the filmmaking process.
Do you think that just like the writers of Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles, like these background actors from Operation Fortune are like, please don't shine a light on us. We don't want to be remembered as Operation Fortune actors.
Maybe. We have one more. His name is James Gleason, who appeared in 2 films, and he appeared in. Apparently, he's got a background actor satire slant to him. Simone and American Dreams.
Interesting. Well,
yeah.
I don't really have much to say about that.
That's fair.
Sorry.
You know what? I do have to say. So I also have like producers. I have assistant directors. Like, I can go deep on stats, and I'm not going to. What I will point out is that among everyone that works on a film,
yeah,
there's one person who has appeared in 3 films this season.
Like, not appeared in, but like worked on 3 films this season.
Well, in this particular case, kind of appeared in.
Oh, okay. This is interesting now. Okay. So is this a producer? Is this like a DP or something?
This is stunt person Laura Elbert.
Okay.
Now, hold on. She's also an actress in her own right. She has appeared in the following 3 films.
Okay.
Simone.
Mm-hmm.
6 Days, 7 Nights.
Okay.
And Poseidon.
Wow. Was she one of the stunt people who was lucky enough to be getting hoisted by a gigantic winch while 1,000 gallons of water blasts at her?
You're asking great questions that I don't have answers to. I would imagine every stunt person in America and maybe beyond was contracted for Poseidon with, 246 different stunt performers on that?
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact number, but it was a lot.
Yeah. It was like the last scene in the Muppet movie where they had to get every single puppeteer on this side of the Atlantic to come to LA to operate all the Muppets in that one shot.
All right, this is how I want to close out the Letterboxd stats. I have listed here our shortest film, our longest film, the film that has the highest average, the lowest average, our most popular film, the most obscure film, the newest, and the oldest.
And does one film encapsulate all of those?
That would be pretty impressive if it could. Let's just run right down the list. Our highest averaged film this season is Lee Daniels' The Butler.
That makes sense to me. I don't necessarily...
Rocking a 3.4 on Letterboxd.
Oh, out of 5, right?
That's correct.
Okay, yeah, all right. That's a 3.4 out of 5 type movie.
Lowest average? Do you want to guess? I bet it's not what you think it is.
Sahara?
Nope.
What?
It is Poltergeist.
Oh, okay. Hey, well done. Well done, Letterboxd. Take that movie down a bit. Yeah.
That's coming in at 2.1. The most popular film, which means the most amount of Letterboxd users have watched it.
Last song.
Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre.
Oh, God, Letterboxd, I'm sorry for all of you guys. Why did you watch that movie?
Most obscure?
Lightning Jack?
The lightning jack, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. No,
His arms are in the air.
no cinephiles on Letterboxd out there going like, yes, I've been perusing some of Paul Hogan's later work.
The newest film, the most recent film we did was Boat Boys, The Boys in the Boat. And the oldest film that we did this season was Lightning Jack from March 11th, 1994.
I love
the
that,
longest film.
I love that we started calling the Boys in the Boat Boys in our group chat, and now it's infiltrated our brains so much that we're just saying it on the air and expecting the listeners to get it.
Boat Boys with a Z, too. It came after American Dreams. Everything now has a Z on it.
Boys with a Z.
Longest film we covered this season at 132 minutes was Lee Daniels, The Butler. And the shortest was Gretel and Hansel at 87 minutes.
And yet it still felt pretty long. And that's no shade on Gretel and Hansel. I'm just saying that movie dragged a bit.
Well, I think that is ample lead up to giving out the M3P Awards.
The M3P Awards, yep.
The Movie Memory Machine P Awards.
You know, Landon, we're wandering into more and more double entendres. Folks, we're still, we're out here, we're tinkering with the ship. We're also tinkering with some of the nomenclature we use for these finales. Don't get too married to any of these categories or names. We might change them down the line.
It's a play on MVP. It's M3P.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those things that kind of looks better in the chat, and then you say it out loud. we get this huge surge in German listeners going like, I heard you were reviewing the P movies.
Anyway, we have some awards to give out, and I think we should just go back and forth handing these awards out. There's not going to be a big ceremony the way that the Oscars do it, but
although this will take a very long time to do, and everyone will kind of be looking at their watch during it.
I'm gonna give you first blood here. What give out your first award.
Okay, well, I want to give out the my M3P for the most valuable, totally underpaid and underappreciated employee.
Okay.
There have been a lot of working folks, everyday working stiffs in the movies that we've covered, and I just want to reach out and recognize the people. They're doing really good work and not being compensated nearly enough for it.
Okay.
So and better yet, this one is actually a tie. It's a tie between Marco Valentine, played by Freddie Rodriguez in Poseidon. He's the waiter.
Okay.
Who they recruit to lead them to safety, and then almost immediately after promising him a bunch of money to help them, they're trying to get through the elevator shaft, and Richard Dreyfuss kicks him off his leg, and he dies a very gruesome death.
I don't even think he really helps them at all. So there's literally no help, no purpose for the brutality to that character.
They could have just left him in there to die with Fergie, but no, they had to insist on taking him to die in a different, much more painful way.
Yes.
So it's, so on one hand you got Marco Valentine, but just equally unappreciated is producer Ron in Money Monster, the guy who Lee Gates...
Producer Ron.
Lee Gates forces him to try an experimental boner cream, and then he has to run all over Manhattan all day, presumably with a huge boner, and then he gets shot.
Yeah.
Whatever.
He survives, but
yeah.
What would you do would you go to those lengths for your job? Not me.
No, I absolutely would not. I'm not. I draw the line at testing pharmaceuticals on myself, and I definitely draw the line at getting shot. So anyway. Marco Valentine and producer Ron, we here at the Movie Memory Machine salute you. Please enjoy your M3P award.
I've got an award to give out.
Yeah, I expected you to.
My M3P, my first M3P award of the night goes to Most Forgotten Action Vehicle that appears in not one but two films.
Oh, interesting. I'm
speaking, of course, of the VW Bug.
Ah, yes, the VW Bug. Yes.
The VW Bug. A vehicle that appears both in The Recruit and The Mexican, and exists in such a way that both filmmakers decided I have to shoot this in an action sequence and test its durability to its limits.
What were the Volkswagen people paying to forgotten filmmakers in the early 2000s? Like, was there some kind of
Well, here's the thing. The vehicle itself is so forgotten.
Yeah.
That there was a video game.
Oh.
A racing video game based on the VW Bug.
Oh, Landon.
Oh.
Not only did I play the VW Bug racing game for the Nintendo 64, I have a very strong memory of going to the video store, wanting to rent that game, walking in there at the same time as another dorky kid my age, and getting to the video game rental section just ahead of him and grabbing the VW Bug racing game, and then him seeing it, and apparently he'd wanted the same thing. He was like, "Oh no, you got the only one," and me just being like, "Yeah, tough titties, kid. Sorry, sucks to suck. Should have had your mom drive you here like 1 second sooner. Anyway, see ya."
Knowing you, that has to be one of the few memories in your life that you go to for solace in times of frustration.
Yeah. I guess most of my memories that I share are me being aggravated about a minor thing that happened to me. So it is good to be the winner in one of these.
Just to have a petty victory over someone seems right up. That seems like it defines the Truman Caps experience.
Yes. And meanwhile, that kid is on some other much more successful podcast ranting about like this dumbass wearing high socks and clogs stole my copy of the VW Beetle racing game.
And that kid, Paul Scheer.
Oh no! That's how it got made. Okay, well, look, I think that is. I think that it's good though that like I'm so glad that the VW Bug is getting its time in the sun once again.
Yeah, absolutely. It drove me to Disneyland once.
Like from Michigan or just from LA?
No. Yeah, from like northern LA.
Wow, that's a long time to spend in a VW Bug. That's a small car.
It was a convertible.
Oh, with the top down on the 405, breathing in all the good fumes. Ooh, we're going past that refinery by Long Beach. It smells extra bad today. So, I wanted to hand out the M3P for most memorable sex act committed to film in one of our movies this year.
Oh wow. Okay.
Now, listen, I know what all of you are thinking. We talked a lot about Hope Springs and certain actions that took place in certain public places in that movie.
Oh, that's true.
And we joked about it a lot. And I'm just here to say that the M3P goes to Marlon Brando blowing popcorn through a rolled-up magazine for Faye Dunaway to catch in her mouth, and then she's marking on her arm with lipstick every time that she gets it.
On some level, I feel a little vindicated that you chose that, and I wholeheartedly support this.
Wait, why do you feel vindicated? Is this because you're just more up on Don Juan than I am?
Well, no, it's a moment that I point to as an example of the whimsy I liked in that movie, and it's a thing that doesn't exist anymore, and I'm glad that it did for that moment in time.
That is a real moment that is a window into a thing that Marlon Brando came up with that day on set, and it just kind of makes you think, was he thinking about that for a long time, or did he come up with? Did they just have the popcorn and the magazine was there and he pieced it together spontaneously, or is this like a fetish that he had,
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the answer, Truman.
Well, you can speculate. He's dead. He can't defend himself. He's not going to come sue us. You can say he's into all kinds of kooky shit. He was in Dr. Moreau.
Speaking of kooky shit, my next M3P award goes to the most forgotten narrative framing device.
Ooh, okay.
And this goes to Old Man Thinks Back on the Events of the Film.
Is that truly the most forgotten framing device? Do you think Hollywood's forgotten that framing device?
No. But it seems to have appeared a lot this season, and therefore, of the forgotten films we have covered, it is a trope that appears a lot, and so I'm giving it an award for appearing in the most forgotten films
for its resiliency. So it's in Boat Boys, it's in The Butler.
Yeah.
Is it in any other ones? Well, I guess technically reminiscence is an old man looking back at things that have happened.
True. You don't know where the narrative starts in that. It starts in the middle. I just remember.
No,
fuck that movie.
It ends in the middle, as the screenplay will tell you when you get to the end. Oh,
Suck it.
So mad.
Oh, I hate that movie so much.
Fucking reminiscence.
It's not an old man thinking back on their life, but it is kind of a theme of the movie Life or Something Like It, looking back on your life.
I don't know if I call it that.
I'm making stretches here.
Unless it starts with Tony Shalhoub.
How about this? How about this one? How about this? We don't know at what age Ryan Philippe is doing the voiceover at the beginning of 54.
Yes, well, at the beginning of the 54 director's cut, there are a couple lines of like 40-something Ryan Philippe doing VO right. for the new movie. So in that sense, yeah. I kind of would love it if the movie about the guy doing lots of drugs and having lots of sex is an old guy looking back and remembering it, and then just at the end of the movie he's just sitting there and it's like he actually didn't remember any of that because his brain is just mush from all the drugs that he did. He's just been looking at a blank wall the entire time.
Oh my god, they've got to do like a Dewey Cox 2 and
for many reasons.
Like a Walk Hard 2 and like make them learn the lessons they didn't the first time and do something exactly like that.
Yeah.
All right, what else you got?
I have my M3P for the least forgettable in memoriam segment. I want to just salute. Okay. I want to very somberly salute my favorite character who we lost this year, who passed away. You know, we lost a lot of good ones. You know, Greg Kinnear in Last Song, Hugh Grant and The Boyfriend in American Dreams. President Kennedy in The Butler, and okay. James Gandolfini in The Mexican, who I truly do mourn every day.
True.
But
oh man, Gandolfini's not getting the award here.
He should be. Actually, he should be. But I already suggested that he's not. So I guess I can't go back. Yeah. Actually, you know what? No, I'm sorry. You know what? Disco Dottie from 54. I am so sorry.
Oh.
But you already had a pretty good time in your life, so I'm actually not ma'am, please roller skate back off stage. Ma'am, I'm sorry. No, go sit down. James Gandolfini from The Mexican, come on up. Yeah, you big guy, come on, here you go. Here's your award. Oh man. James Gandolfini is hugging me now, and it's everything I've ever wanted in my life.
That is fine and dandy award to be giving out, and wholeheartedly condone it.
And a fine and dandy recipient too.
I'm gonna take this in a slightly different direction. I'm gonna go with the M3P award for most forgotten romantic male lead character trait. Which is, intentional or not, coercive manipulation.
Okay, interesting. Any movie that you're really you're really zeroing in on with this one?
Well, a couple actually.
A couple.
I think it's in Loser to a pretty big degree, and in varying degrees in that film.
Yeah.
I think to some degree there is at the forefront of Hope Springs. Yeah. Tommy Lee Jones's kind of neglectful, abusive behavior. Is it coercive? Maybe.
No, he's not coercing her. He's just browbeating her the entire time.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, all right. I'm just trying to buy time to the clear example, which
of course
is
you are, you piece of shit.
Life or Something Like It, Edward Burns.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Great.
It's just it's a mark of that turn of the century romantic comedy sort of thing where we don't look too closely at what's actually being communicated between the romance between two characters.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, and your argument there just being that in Life or Something Like It, Ed Burns' character is manipulating Angelina Jolie's character into questioning everything about herself in order to gain control over her. That's the point that you're making there.
That's a point that I'm making.
One of the points that you're making there.
Of my very complex assertion about that character. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, my M3P for the most unfairly maligned character in all of the movies we've done goes to Pete Scanlon, played by Ed Burns in Life or Something Like It. Because Landon, that was our second movie.
Yes.
That was our second movie.
It was.
And we've watched a lot of
true.
movies since then.
We have.
And the leading men in this season's movies have been a murderer's row of ding-dongs and jabronis, and Ed Burns is one of the best. I think the only man better in these movies who comes out ahead of Ed Burns in Life or Something Like It is Hansel. Look, Pete the Cameraman, I'd much rather hang out with him than Fish. I would much rather...
No.
I would rather let Pete into my home than Johnny DeMarco.
No, I don't agree with that.
You wouldn't Johnny DeMarco, who's like a weird sex freak, who
he's gonna give me like love advice.
Yeah, bad love advice. You want to talk about coercive manipulation? No.
I think Johnny DeMarco's been unfairly maligned as a porn addict here when he just has character delusions.
He fucking built an entire fantasy character because he looked at a pinup for so long. Like, Johnny DeMarco, you want to talk about coercive manipulation? Johnny DeMarco, Don Juan, quote unquote, walks into a restaurant and starts like going down on a woman's index and middle fingers, completely unprompted. That is way more uncool than anything that Pete does. Pete doesn't do anything uncool. Angelina Jolie comes to him for advice, and he gives her the advice. He's cute. They've already hooked up once. She wants some more. He gives it to her.
I think because she's in a vulnerable state, there's a power imbalance, and he takes advantage, intentionally or not, of trying to put his mandate of spontaneity and life rules on her, and makes her question her own identity. I think it's manipulation disguised as romance.
You know, she's like an adult woman, right? Like she's a fully formed human being who can make choices.
That's very fair. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I'm glad I said it too.
Very happy that you said that.
Yeah.
Because I agree with you. I would love to give her own agency in making those choices, but I don't think Edward Burns, Pete the Cameraman, recognizes... I don't think that character recognizes her agency. I think he recognizes she's in a state, and he's the one that's going to be able to pull her out of it.
I don't know. What did Ed Burns do to you? Who hurt you, man? He is the protagonist in a romantic comedy.
I don't think he can distinguish between crisis and personal growth. I think he can't recognize the moment that she's in, and he's trying to push her in a way that she's not ready to be pushed.
Tarzan is like literally built out of race science, and you're like, no, Pete Scanlon is worse than this Nazi avatar Tarzan.
No, I didn't say that.
You said it with your eyes.
Okay, Edgar Rice Burroughs, worse than Pete the Cameraman.
Great.
I will admit that.
Okay, good. We've gotten that far. I'd love to read Pete the Cameraman's jungle adventure pulp novels. I bet they're really good and really new agey. Scratch that. I think they're actually terrible, but I'd still like to read them. I mean, Cecil Gaines in The Butler, he disowns his son. That's fucked up.
That's
Pete
fair.
the Cameraman would never do that. He would never do that.
But I mean, as fucked up as it is, he's honest about his own experience, and he's honest about what he wants out of his son. It's unfair, it's toxic and awful, but there's just something scummy about Pete the Cameraman's coercive nature to get her, use her lowest point to identify for her what her authentic self is. He doesn't allow her to say what her authentic self is and then support her direction in that. He goes, you're wearing a Social Distortion t-shirt, you're drunk as fuck, you have finally shed all of the years of curation and success that you have, built up, and this is your authentic self. I finally saw it. Move more in that direction, please.
I mean, like, Martin Taransky invented a computer lady and lied to the whole world. And
Oh man.
Okay,
all right.
Look. This is the fault line of our entire podcast is your inexplicable blood vendetta against Ed Burns. By the way,
Pete the Cameraman.
I watched a little movie over the holidays called The Holiday that came out.
Oh yeah, he's in that.
Yeah, it came out 4 years after he was the romantic lead in a big-time romantic comedy. And in The Holiday, he's in one scene playing the Wang boyfriend to Cameron Diaz, who's been cheating on her, who gets kicked to the curb at the start. How quickly Ed Burns fell from grace?
Well, 4 years.
Well, I'm not saying how. There wasn't a question mark. There was a period. There was just a statement. Like,
then yes.
Observe how quickly Ed Burns fell from grace.
Observation complete.
Great, good. Well, I'm glad we talked about this. I'm sure the content was great. Hey, listeners, you all remember Life or Something Like It, the episode we did like almost a year ago, right? You remember all the details
all right.
of it? You're like super plugged into that. This has been enjoyable for you? Great. I'm glad we had this talk.
And we said the M3P awards weren't going to go on forever. I have one more I need to give out, and then we need to go into our mainstays for the M3P awards. My final M3P is for the most versatile forgotten player, and you alluded to it in our letterbox stats. That's right, I'm giving this to Mr. George Clooney for being a forgettable actor and a forgettable director this season.
Oh, brutal. Now, see, unlike Ed Burns, I will not rise in defense of George Clooney at all. Nothing, like, the biggest change in me this season is I came into it being fairly up on the Clune Dog, and now by the end of the season, having watched Money Monster and Boat Boys, and then having also had to watch Leatherheads for Boat Boys, I'm like, I
now listen,
it's just tough.
There was a moment in Boat Boys, I said something that in the heat of the moment, that I don't fully agree with, which is, I do think he is a fine actor when he wants to be, but I do think he can be a lazy actor, and that's what I can't abide.
Sure.
So it's not that I think he's a shitty actor. I do think it really riles me when, as you said earlier about Tommy Lee Jones, you are paid to do this when people are going into the military. Like, just don't be fucking lazy about it.
I mean, I guess, I'm not trying to defend the Clune Dog here either, but I guess you could argue that's like, well, when George Clooney is lazy about his job, he takes that paycheck and then he uses it to pay for like a satellite over Darfur to,
Yeah, that's true.
I guess that's just when he half-asses a Nespresso commercial. That's when that happens.
I have so many questions about the current Nespresso commercial that's out there.
With like they're on the train and it's like a mystery or something, but none of the content in the ad is about a mystery.
And he says one word, and it's like he was contracted to only say a single word. Like, I'm not saying more than one single word. I'll appear through the whole commercial, but I will only say a single word.
He did the calculations for exactly how much money he needed to keep the satellite over Darfur, and it was like 1 word's worth of Nespresso advertising. Okay, yes, I just have one final M3P of my own to give out, which is the least forgettable stand-up and cheer moment of all of our movies this year.
Okay.
Which I am happy to give to the opening credits to Sahara, by far the most electrifying and exciting and joy-inducing thing I saw in any of the movies. Well, I guess except for the safety dance sequence in The Mexican is
pretty high up there.
It's pretty high up there. That is pretty good. But just it only really hits if you've been fully mainlining Dirk Pitt research for like 2 or 3 weeks. But if you have been, those 3 minutes are as good as that movie's gonna get.
Now is the moment of the M3P awards when we take a moment to hand out the Gone But Not Forgotten award. And we are going to hand this one to star of The Mexican, the jump scare that shocked and delighted us all, Mr. Gene Hackman.
Mr. Hackman, hey, rest in peace, King. We miss you, sir. We miss all those good movies. And you know what? Maybe we should do a separate podcast where we read all the cowboy novels that he was writing in the last, 20 years of his life.
I'd be up for that, actually.
Yeah, we'd call it Hacky Trails. No?
I don't want to laugh at that one.
I'm sorry. That's the podcast where we go hiking and play hacky sack on the trail. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can't have our brands competing like that.
It's such a bad podcast. There's not even talking in that. It's just a lot of
it's that, and then it's the sound of other hikers being like, excuse me, what are you doing? Can I get by? Can I
pass?
Can I just...
On your left.
Yeah. Oh man, and it's still better than this podcast. Yeah.
That brings us to the final category of the night, the most forgotten film this season.
Yes.
And we have both chosen a film. Truman, once and always, I will give you first salvo. What do you got?
Okay, so I was thinking really hard about this, and frankly, the movie that I most often find myself completely forgetting that we've done and forgetting the details of is Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yep.
However, it just is like, I don't know, so much about that movie is memorable. We voted to remember that movie, and that movie has... so much more, like, it's in so many ways it is not a forgotten movie, just in the simple fact that there is so much stuff in it that is funny and memorable. You know, the dropsies, Dick Check, ahoy motherfucker, all these great bits. And then I remembered another movie that we watched actually fairly recently.
Okay.
Most forgotten movie, folks, The Boys in the Boat. I forgot that movie so hard. Boat Boys.
Really? Wow.
It didn't make me incandescent with rage the way it did for you.
Yeah.
Which I think allowed it to just really slip out of my head.
Okay.
It's just really a piece of paper with the word movie written on it.
It's the They Live version of a movie.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. Which I guess means that George Clooney is a freaky alien.
Do not tell Tommy Lee Jones.
He will walk right out of that room. Okay, I'm interested to know what yours is because I was worried that it might be Boat Boys.
Well, yeah, I think for the reason you outlined, I'm never going to forget that film because... you know what? I, to this day, have not forgiven The Blind Side, and I still go into a rage when I have to talk about that movie, and Boat Boys has reached that level for me. So, that is with me, whether I like it or not. I chose to forget it, and yet I can never.
Okay.
I also went on a journey through forgotten films this year, and I'm like, what criteria do I want to give myself? Do I want to go with, like, movies I remember existing and us covering, but I've forgotten the details about them? Do I want to go with when I think of like, okay, can I name every film we did in order and then like get to the point where I'm like, what was that film? What came after that one? Mm-hmm. And just kind of forget like where in the order of things it was. And I'm going to say for a long time, I would have said the most forgettable movie was The Rocker.
Yeah.
Just that movie slipped right off my brain.
It really did.
However, a lot of the details of Operation Fortune slipped off my brain.
Yeah.
Our lore about it has stuck with me.
Yes.
But when I thought back to like, well, what the fuck happens in that movie? I like so much of it is gone.
Yeah.
But that's also because it was at the forefront of the season.
Yeah.
So, thank you for going on this journey with me. It has brought me to my answer, which is a film we did relatively recently. And the fact that I have forgotten it, much like you with Boat Boys, is indicative of how forgettable the movie is. My most forgotten film this year is American Dreams.
Okay. I think that's just interesting. I think that movie is forever going to stick out to me because I am such an idiot for politics that like the George W. Bush, the movie that talks like it's going to roast George W. Bush and instead gives George W. Bush a big old pat on the head and a free pass on everything. Yeah. Like that raises my hackles enough that I can't really forget it. Interesting.
Yeah. The thing is, like, I think it's going to fall right back to the place where it was before we did the episode, which is I remember it existed, but I couldn't tell you anything about it. Like, I knew it was an American Idol proxy. Beyond that, I have no idea what the plot is. And I think by the time we get to, like, season 5, I'm going to have forgotten the details of that film.
I mean, will you at least remember that someone in it is a rockin' man? He's a rockin' man. He's a rockin' man.
Okay, all right. That might be one thing that sticks with me. That's the meme from that film that won't ever leave my brain.
Every movie has at least one. Wow, okay. So The Boys in the Boat and The American Dreams.
Yeah.
Very few parallels between those two movies. Absolutely. Like, at least American Dreams made some swings at things, unlike The Boys in the Boat.
Yeah. They're both about America, to a degree.
Yeah, and I guess if we call The Boys in the Boat by our preferred title, they do both end with a Z.
That's very true.
Wow. Really makes you think.
It does, doesn't it? This brings us to our final segment of our finale here, which is just a brief review of our verdicts this season, and maybe a discussion of, how we feel about those now that we're a little bit removed from them.
And I'm going to go on the record as saying I believe in never looking back or trying to edit or explain away our verdicts, and not just because I voted to remember Barnyard.
So we have a number of films, and I think it's worth just mentioning the ones that we have agreed to send back to modern memory. But there are a handful of films that we did split decisions on, and I think I'm coming at it from a slightly different place, which is, yes, I fully embrace the decisions we've made in our pasts. It's important to do that. However, I am very passionate about wanting people to see films that they might not otherwise see, and so if I can double stamp a movie in the hopes that maybe they get to see it in the future, I'd like to do that.
Yeah, hope springs, I guess.
And so
eternal.
I have a controversial move I need to make.
Oh boy, okay. Your move is to wholeheartedly endorse everything that happens in Loser. Okay, done. We've got it.
Let's earmark my controversial move and just review the films we've decided to send back together.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back to it. So what we've decided to send back together is the whole nonsense of 54.
Yeah.
Theatrical cut, director's cut, Lewis's article, all of it for context.
Yes.
The next one we decided to send back together, Simone.
Yeah. I stand by that.
I stand by both of those. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The next one we decided to send back together, The Last Song.
Yeah. Great. Good choice.
Gonna return to that one in a second.
What?
Keeping forward, what else did we decide to send back together? We had a string of not send backs.
Oh yeah.
Until Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
We both decided to send that one back.
We decided to send it back to modern memory, and yet I keep forgetting it.
Then we kind of had a string of good ones here, because then 2 episodes later we did The Mexican,
Woo!
And we decided to send that one back. And then 2 episodes later, we did Gretel and Hansel and decided to send that one back.
Yeah.
So that's our list of send back movies. However, here's my controversial move.
Okay.
I'm going to take a vote away from The Last Song.
Are you just trying to hurt me? If there's been one common theme throughout the season, it's that I loved The Last Song.
It's true, and I'm not taking that away from you. And not that we have a limited number of votes to give this season. I think an important part of the movie process is sitting with it for a while and evaluating it over time and letting things settle. And yes, that immediate reaction is a big part of it. But what are the themes and things that sit with you for a while that really, to me, those are what make a movie memorable. Or can make a movie memorable. So I'm actually taking my vote away from Last Song, which I think is a fine film, but one that in the long run I didn't feel was really something that brought a lot that not a lot of others do. I feel like I voted for that one based on what we were seeing in the season, not what I think people should actually spend their time seeing. And I'm gonna give my vote to another film, but I'm curious what your reaction is so far.
My reaction is gonna be to tell you to get the hell away from me. You never really loved me, and you're just like walking out on me just like my dad did after my parents got divorced.
My God, just eyeshadow is just appearing on your face right now.
I'm never going to play the piano again. And you thought it was funny when you pulled me into that aquarium tank? Well, guess what, buddy? It was not, in fact. There were sharks in there. And I had to get all kinds of shots after all that fish piss that I got in my mouth. Look, I get your point about you sit with a movie, you see how it's impacted you, and your assessment of it over time is an important one to make. And certainly I've seen a lot of movies where initially they didn't make a huge impression on me, but then over revisiting them, I felt more strongly, etc., etc. I also just, and look, and it also makes sense, the whole concept of our podcast is movies that people forget, and like obviously the further away you get from the movie is gonna enhance your potential to forget it or feel differently about it.
Sure. See any Oscar movie ever.
Oh, stop it now. Everybody talks about The Artist every single day. The fandom for the best picture of that year, The Artist, grows stronger and stronger with each passing day. I think that with these movies, I just feel like why I don't want to go back and revisit it and fuck with our votes is because the state of mind we were in when we had been aggressively, intensely watching the movie, maybe multiple times, watching the movie, paying more attention to it than even the filmmakers intended them to. I think that is a difficult state of mind to replicate, and I think that our verdict that comes out of that experience is a unique and precious and beautiful thing. I don't understand why I said that we should remember Barnyard, but it made sense to me 2 hours after watching Barnyard, and I think that is a pure and beautiful verdict. Much like I don't understand why you said that we should remember Life or Something Like It, a movie that made you so mad at Ed Burns for no goddamn reason.
A verdict that had a caveat attached to it, and we'll return to that in a second. But here's the thing: we have a time machine, and thus we can inhabit two spaces at once because our episodes exist documenting those reactions and those verdicts that we gave. And now we are living in a place where we can include the experience we've had since the film. And to me, as an avid movie lover, that's an important point that I don't, for my verdicts, want to overlook. And so with that in mind, The Last Song is a film that has not stayed in my memory the way that the initial experience did. And both things are very valid. A film that has grown in my memory since we did it, and I voted not to remember it, and I'm switching my vote to remember it, is Hope Springs.
Oh, God damn it, Landon. Wait, actually, I voted to remember Hope Springs. Oh, so I guess we're both.
You did.
Look, and this is the thing. Looking back, the more I think back on Hope Springs, the more I kind of regret my vote to remember it. But hey, I'm not going to try and change that. Great. I'm leaving mine in place because of the you can't change the past. So now Hope Springs gets a unanimous.
Yeah. Well, we're not changing the past. We're essentially attempting to change the past, and in doing so, creating two alternate realities where both things exist.
Great. Even better. What happened? What made you think that? What made you decide this?
Yeah. So I still, the movie is the movie, and it itself hasn't changed, but our discussion of it and the things the movie doesn't say but are there, whether it's like through the acting and the characterizations that Tommy Lee Jones and Meryl Streep bring to it, all those like unspoken motivations and backstories, the deepness of it really expanded in my mind, and that's another part of the movie going process. Like I could now be on a journey creating a completely different film than Hope Springs actually is, and so the next time I go watch it, it's like, oh no, I was completely wrong. We were so far up our own ass about discussing what was going on between the characters here that's not here at all. That could 100% be the case.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was like my big complaint about the movie was that I thought it was going to go deeper into what was behind the characters, and ultimately there was nothing in it. But we have talked about Hope Springs, I think, more than any other movie. It's been like Operation Fortune and Hope Springs have really just sort of like been the backbone of our season.
And Operation Fortune makes sense because it was the first one, but Hope Springs, I don't know why it was, but it was, and that could be contributing to my kind of rosy picture of it now.
I mean, Operation Fortune was so aggressively dumb. It wasn't just that it was the first one. It was like it was this real, like that is a real perfect case for what a forgotten disposable movie is just sort of a kind of like bro-y free writing exercise with a lot of ball punching.
Let me throw a few more split decisions at you just for your reaction. I'm not going to ask you to change them, but just like, where are you now? Okay, so you covered Barnyard. You had a split decision in favor of Poseidon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I stand by that.
You stand by that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Keep remembering it.
I had a split decision in favor of Don Juan DeMarco,
yeah,
which I still stand by. It's just a movie that can't exist outside of the very second it was made, and despite its problematic people behind the camera or in front of the camera, like it still manages a wistful atmosphere, and I would watch it again 100%.
Yeah, but Ed Burns is the problem in Life or Something Like It. But oh no, Don Juan DeMarco.
Pete the Cameraman.
Pete the Cameraman, not Ed Burns. You don't like Ed Burns for a bunch of totally normal reasons.
I think he's a fine person. Listen to that episode and hear my defense of Ed Burns the person.
You're gonna have to listen to that episode to make sense of about 40 minutes of this episode. Okay.
And okay, lastly, now I'm not gonna spend much time on this, but I think I was a little gun shy, no pun intended, on saying I kind of like The Recruit.
Yeah.
And if I were to do that over, I might say Remember It. I'm not going to officially say that, but
yeah,
I kind of like that one.
I mean, look, I think I love also the breakdown between us and our fans on the Discord who just like genuinely hated The Recruit, and both of us just sort of treated, we both just, it's like a cute 6-year-old looking at a lollipop or something. You just want to like ruffle her hair and be like, look at you little scamp. What, you got Al Pacino in your movie ripping up a newspaper? That's cute. Good for you. Hey,
you gotta trust nobody.
Al Pacino babies. That's how we're gonna get rich.
That's comes out of that weird ass film we created from that film.
It's the baby version of Al Pacino from Heat, obviously. It's the baby version of Al Pacino from Scent of a Woman. It's the baby version of Al Pacino from The Recruit. Baby version of Al Pacino from Dog Day Afternoon.
This is the sequel to the Al Pacino movie where Al Pacino marries Al Pacino, right?
Yes, he has like 4 or 5 Pacino babies.
Yeah.
And they live together in the most intense nursery you've ever been to.
Pacininos.
Oh, okay, look, this episode started with me roasting your Italian heritage, and now it came back around to save the day. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Grazie mille.
You mentioned Discord, and I had mentioned that I had a split decision with a caveat in favor of Life or Something Like It. In that episode, I said, let's send it back with as many review before, opening stamps on it, and let our listeners decide.
Yeah.
Well, let's move into listener verdicts.
Oh, yes.
What are our listeners on our Discord? And if you want to be able to vote on these films as to whether or not we remember them, you can do that by joining our Discord. Every time a new episode posts, we put it out to vote whether or not you think we should send it back to modern memory or leave it forgotten. And I've got some verdicts.
Okay,
Truman.
Okay,
I got the official verdict on Life or Something Like It.
Okay, and that verdict is?
Well, let's do Operation Fortune first. Let's go right down the line.
I guess that makes sense.
Operation Fortune. We said no. Listener said, forget that thing. Get it out of here.
Hell yeah. Our listeners have good taste.
Life or Something Like It. We said no. I said maybe. Listener said no, but it was a pretty close no.
Yeah, this is true. It seems like, 2 to 1 odds, basically.
Legend of Tarzan, we said no. Listener said no. But I will say that a few of them still kind of enjoyed the experience.
Okay, fair.
54, we said yes. Listener said yes.
So it seems like our listeners just sort of agree with us. They take their cues from their god kings.
Oh, Truman, you always say the thing right before we do the thing.
Yeah?
I'm so sorry.
Oh no.
Now position your petard.
Oh no. Oh no.
Get ready to hoist yourself.
Oh no. No, this always happens to me.
Barnyard, we were split. I said no, you said yes. Listener said yes. However, here's your petard. And in the episode, you said you're going to cyberbully anyone who says we're going to send this one back. Poltergeist, we said no. Listeners voted yes on Poltergeist.
What? Okay, well, look, I don't want to cyberbully anybody who voted yes on it. Not just because my partner is one of the people who voted yes on it, and that's that would be wrong. That would be coercive behavior, like Tommy Lee Jones.
Exactly. You're learning.
Yeah, I'm learning. Okay. Well, let's keep going down the line. Simone is up next.
All right. Simone, we said yes. Listener said yes.
Huzzah! Okay.
Hope Springs, you said yes. I said no. Then I said yes. Listener said no.
Yep.
Money Monster.
Ow.
We said no. And this was our only split decision this season from listeners.
Wow, listeners. I mean, look, no disrespect to any of you. I'm fascinated that Money Monster stirred anybody's passions enough. I mean, Money Monster honestly is kind of a runner-up for most forgotten movie for me this year. I mean, it's
it's up there. It's that I forgot Julia Roberts was in it because she's so separated from the action in that.
Yeah. There's George Clooney has a certain forgettable sauce that it really worked here.
Well, this is vindicating. We said fucking let's nuke Reminiscence out of every memory ever, and also our listeners said the same thing.
Thank you, listeners. We appreciate you.
Split decision between us on Don Juan DeMarco and Truman. I'm so sorry to say, listeners gave it the thumbs up. That one's going back to modern memory.
Hey, listen. Have you ever really, 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 really loved your fan base? Because we do, and I'm not gonna judge you guys. Look, y'all liked Don Juan DeMarco. That's fine. I'm not upset about it. At least it wasn't Reminiscence. You know. Hey, look, respect the controversy here.
Well, going into the last song, we said yes, and then I said no. Listener said, nah, not this one.
Wow, guys, come on, fam, what are we doing?
However, oh my God, this roller coaster just has so many ups and downs. We said, get the fuck out of here, loser. That put us in such a bad place. And so did listeners. They said, no.
Mm-hmm.
Loser, you are a loser.
Yeah, pretty bad.
We have a differing opinion on The Rocker, though. We both said no, and listeners said yes.
You know, and look, I feel bad. Like, I saw this on Discord, and like a lot of our fans really like The Rocker and have positive memories of it, and were like talking favorably about it. And I think we went pretty hard on the movie in a douchebag movie guy kind of way, and I just want to say again, The Rocker is fine. It's not hurting anybody. I am not mad about it at all. There's a lot of fun stuff going on there, and I completely I hope that all the shit I talked about The Rocker didn't offend anybody. I am in the wrong. I am broken inside for not being able to like The Rocker. The sickness is in me.
I think you might be mixing that up with a different experience, because I don't think we went that hard on The Rocker. We were just like, it's a fine movie. You went pretty hard on Teddy Geiger's music, but that's neither here nor there.
And no disrespect to her either. I don't know. I mean, I just feel like we spent a lot of time picking apart every reason why we thought that it wasn't a very good movie, and then I went on Discord and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, this movie's really fun. I like it a lot." And I'm like, "Well, god damn it!" And I feel like the asshole at the party who talks about why everyone's favorite movie is bad, aka me at most parties in the 2010s.
Luckily, moving forward, Truman, I have set the standard for going hard on a movie for Boat Boys.
This is true.
You'll never reach that level.
Yeah.
Actually, I shouldn't say never. I shouldn't limit you like that.
Yeah. Thanks. That would be coercive, like Pete the Cameraman.
Yeah. And you know what? I've learned lessons from Pete the Cameraman. Moving on.
Define lessons.
We said. I still hate it so much. We said we do not want to remember Lightning Jack, and they said we don't either.
Good.
Same with The Butler. We said no. They said no. The Recruit. We said no. It was a soft no, though. It was a scampy no. But they said no. We don't want that one. Vampire in Brooklyn. We said yes. They said yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
6 days, 7 nights. That's a no and a no.
Yeah.
We are not remembering that Harrison Ford Anheuser vehicle.
Yeah,
that vehicle is a plane that crash lands.
Yeah, I know. That's why no one remembers it.
Or is it a boat that gets motor shelled?
Ah, that's true. Or is it a
different vehicle?
Or is it a plane that gets fixed but then crashes again in a very memorable and impressive way?
So many vehicles in that movie.
Yeah. Oh.
We are in agreement on the Mexican. We both, us and listeners, sent that one back.
There's a vehicle in that movie called an El Camino, El Camino.
You are in the minority on Poseidon, and Lauren, I guess, is in the soft minority because she said, soft, send that back.
Yeah.
Gretel and Hansel, we differ from listeners on this one. We said yes, listeners said no.
And you know what? That's fine.
The only instance of this all season.
Yeah. Well, you know what? This is one case where the movie douchebags were so far up our own ass that we were out of touch with the ordinary people who were able to actually enjoy things in life.
You know what, man? I feel no guilt about my discussion or verdict on that film, and it's an example of I understand why you don't like that movie, but I hope our episode gave you a little bit of a different perspective to consider.
Boy, just compared to so many of the other forgotten movies we watched, it was a real breath of fresh air to see a movie that has a distinctive visual style and actually a plan for what it's trying to be about.
Yeah. Also, I have since seen The Monkey by Oz Perkins. That movie slaps.
Oh, yeah?
That is such an awesome, fucking fun movie.
Hell yeah.
Go see The Monkey.
I have long been waiting for Oz Perkins to do a remake of a movie featured on Mystery Science Theater 3000, and at long last, the time has come.
I don't think that's 100% accurate, but moving on. We have American Dreams with a Z. We have all said no, we don't want that one.
Okay, that's good. We all voted that out of office.
Yes. Boat Boys. We have also said swim away, float away, sink that boat.
Yep.
We don't want you here.
Move that boat.
And finally, Sahara. Another one that I could have been convinced to give it a send back to modern memory just because of everything about it.
No.
But we said no. Listeners said no.
I'll send the documentary about the making of Sahara back to modern memory.
Yes, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah, the burden of dreams to Sahara.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yeah. The Hearts of Darkness, a filmmaker's apocalypse to Sahara. Mm-hmm. It would just be the title of it. The title of it would just be the Sahara story.
That really does encapsulate it.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of our verdicts. Is there anything more as we close out this season that you want to say about our verdicts, about the movies, anything at all?
Not really. I think the only thing I want to say is to everybody who's been listening, hey, thank you for going on this journey with us. We look forward to you accompanying us on this journey into the next season, because we cannot be stopped. Doesn't matter who tells us not to make these episodes. We're going to keep making them. And we hope you continue choosing to listen to them, because it really means the world to us.
Even if we can't afford it and we are just recording this even if we're not recording it, even if we are speaking over the phone to do these episodes and just talk movies, we're going to keep doing it. But we hope you'll join us on this journey as we continue. And there's 5 ways that you can help make sure that we are able to continue season after season, providing you ad-free, artist-owned content, not only here on Movie Memory Machine, but on every show that appears on the Gruntwork Podcast Network. And those 5 ways are, number 1, join us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month, and it's a pay-what-you-will system that will get you access to all of the bonus content across all of our shows, or you can choose just to get a single show's content if you want that, but that goes the longest way to helping us keep the mics plugged in, the oxygen running, and the time traveling.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Yeah, no, that works. That works. You can go back in time and fix yourself.
Thank you. Patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Way number 2 is to rate and review us on any podcatcher that you listen to us on, but if you can leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, that goes the longest way to getting new people finding the show, which is the way that we grow and are able to have more opportunities to do cool things on Movie Memory Machine. The third way, subscribe, follow us wherever you can find us on social media and all of those platforms. We are most active on YouTube and Letterboxd, as we gave evidence of today. We are not sponsored by Letterboxd, but we are big proponents of them. Follow us, find us at Movie Memory Machine or Movie Memory Pod, and you will find our profiles on pretty much anywhere they are to be found. The fourth and most important way is to just tell anyone you can about this show. Text someone, email someone, write it on a napkin and leave it on the table behind you for the waiter to see when you leave.
Or all the rats in the garbage can will start listening to our podcast, and that'll be cool too.
You know what? They propagate a lot. That's a lot of listeners.
Yeah, that's true.
I could become the Rat King, Truman. So tell anyone about the show that you can. We really appreciate it, and a word-of-mouth recommendation goes the longest way to actually getting someone to listen to the show. Finally, join us in the conversation about these films on our Discord. You can find that over at our website, which is moviememorymachine.com. The link is there to join us, and we are creating a community outside of social media that is just positive. It's about movie discussions, and we just really want to be able to do more cool things with all of you in the future. The more people we get in that community, the more things we can do. So please join us over at Discord. This has been Support Week. I'm very, very happy that you've all been here and listened to every one of these episodes. We can't do it without you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Are you one-upping me in thank yous?
I'm basically like laying down support. I'm like adding a multiplier to all of your thank yous.
Wait, that's backwards though. You're adding support on top of you're adding 5 thank yous on top of the 3 I did. That's very unstable.
I'm not good at this. I really suck, which is why we need your support to be better at the thing that we do. Listen, again, thank you so much for, the support that you've given us thus far and any more support that you can send our way. We do this because we love doing it. We love talking to each other. We love making the podcast. And we just love to, be able to make this thing work better, be able to do more of this thing, be able to find ways to expand the work that we're doing, the good and necessary and important work of talking about movies that everybody forgot existed.
And keeping those fucking ads out of our ears for a good 2.5 hours.
Yes.
Can we just have that much of our day not be bombarded by advertisements and making us spend our money on shit that we don't want? I realize I just asked you for money.
Yeah. He also and you were also saying that we're creating a positive community. This coming from the man who is incandescent with rage about the Boat Boys and also about the Ad Boys.
And Pete the Cameraman. On that is season 1. We're done, right? Oh man, that felt good.
I hate to burst your bubble there, man, but we've only done 4 episodes, and as I recall, we had to do 5 to keep from getting sent back in time.
Even after doing so many main episodes, we've done 8 hours of content here.
I am exhausted. My back is broken. All of my podcasting muscles are screaming in agony, as are our listeners, I'm sure. But no, we got to keep at it. We got to give it one more. So look, we hit the button. We'll submit this one. It'll tell us where to go next.
Press the button. Let's just get this over with.
Okay. Okay. Hang on. Technical difficulties. Looks like the paper's stuck. I'm just gonna very carefully.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. That printer ink smeared in a big way. I can't.
All right.
I cannot read that.
Well,
that is fully illegible. I don't know.
I refuse, Truman. I refuse to go back to Operation Fortune. I cannot do Guy Ritchie again.
Can I hit Control Z?
Wait,
is there a way I can make it print again?
I got an idea. Listen, Truman, buddy.
What?
We're in a time machine.
I'm well aware.
What if we just get a head start on next season for next week's episode?
Oh, I see. Kind of we go forward, we take a little peek at what we're gonna do, and then feed that to the machine so it doesn't make us go back.
I mean, is it crazy enough to work?
I mean, yeah, it's kind of crazy, but I would say everything about the concept is pretty crazy, so it seems like it's par for the course.
All right.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's head to the future and take a look at what Season 2 is going to be.
All right, grasp my hand like Thelma and Louise, and let's head into the future.
See you next week, everybody.
Whoa!
Movie Memory Machine is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. Join our Patreon at patreon.com/gruntworkpod to keep the machine running. Theme song by Porky's Groove Machine. Rate us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. For more information on today's show, visit MovieMemoryMachine.com.